Blizzard announced not one, but 3 World of Warcraft expansions. The return of the original Fortnite map brings in insane numbers, and Modern Warfare 3's campaign is described as the worst ever. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is Jinx News. It was BlizzCon over the weekend, marking the return of the in-person event after 4 years. The pandemic got in the way for a bit, and Blizzard's litigation around alleged workplace harassment last year caused some issues, but hey, Blizzard are clearly keen to put all of that behind them as we return to the packed-out Anaheim Center in California. And to be honest, the whole thing felt like a mixed bag. The closing ceremony featured a performance from LE, the K-pop group who recently collabed with Overwatch 2, and I can't lie, it felt like an odd choice when considering the past BlizzCon alumni, you know, Metallica, Tenacious D, Blink, but hey, either way, it's clear LE know how to put on a show. But when it came to Blizzard's library of games, it was World of Warcraft that was the clear standout. We got a ton of exciting announcements for both retail Warcraft and Classic, and the event marked a very welcome return of Chris Metzen, and boy, does that man know how to hype up a crowd. And trust me, there's a ton to talk about here, so strap yourselves in. Well, starting with retail WoW, it looks like they are switching things up. Everyone was waiting for a new expansion reveal, but what we didn't expect was 3. You see, Blizzard have mapped out a long-term overarching storyline which they call the World Soul Saga, and that unfolds in 3 parts. First up, you have The War Within, which is penciled in for a 2024 release. It takes place in the underground kingdoms of Azeroth. Next up is Midnight, which sees players return to the old world, where the forces of the Void have invaded Azeroth in an attempt to snuff out the Sunwell. And finally, we have The Last Titan, where we return to the fan favourite of Northrend. Here, players will witness the return of the Titans to Azeroth and discover a vast conspiracy. Now, The War Within is following off the back of Dragonflight, which was easily the best received expansion in well over a decade, and Blizzard are visibly adamant about carrying over its successes. There's a focus here on new evergreen features, keeping the game fresh for the new expansion and as it continues long after. Delves, for example, provide new instance content throughout the world. Warbands is a new super alt-friendly account-wide system. Dynamic flying has been carried over from Dragonflight, and there's a new allied race to play, known as the Earthen. Now, as amazing as all of that sounds, I must admit when it comes to the gameplay footage of the new zones, the game is clearly showing its age. The engine is 20 years old at this point, and while Blizzard have done a super impressive job of optimizing it over the years, it very much seems that it's now at its limit. But considering the popularity of Classic WoW, I don't think the visuals are super important for the player base at this point. Speaking of which, there's a ton of cool stuff coming to Classic too. First of all, World of Warcraft's 3rd expansion, Cataclysm, is coming to Classic. It's a controversial one considering the expansion involved completely transforming the geography and leveling experience of Azeroth. You know, the exact reason everyone wanted Classic in the first place. But what's more exciting is the newly announced Season of Discovery, a new seasonal experience which mixes up vanilla WoW. It involves a whole load of class-altering abilities, making things like tanking warlocks and mage healers all possible. Best of all, Season of Discovery launches the week of November 30th, which means it's just around the corner. What do you think though? Does World of Warcraft really have much more life in it? Perhaps you're a past player watching from afar. Are the new retail and classic expansions enough to tempt you back? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, not all of Blizzard's games are in such a good state. Overwatch 2 has had a rough year, what with the cancelled PvE mode making everyone question its very existence. We did get some other announcements during BlizzCon, however. 3 new heroes have been announced for 2024, including Tank Morga. He was made playable over the weekend for everyone to give a go. You've got Venture, a new damage hero who wields a big drill-like weapon. They also mark Overwatch 2's first non-binary character, which is awesome to see. And finally, there's the support, codenamed Space Ranger, who has a more futuristic sci-fi look. But it's when we pull back the curtain and take a look at the competitive scene that things get really interesting and somewhat painful for new owners Microsoft. You see, the Overwatch League's 20 teams are currently voting on whether or not they want to dissolve the league. Most are expected to vote to end it, and if that happens, each team will be owed a compensation payout. Now sadly for Microsoft, that's $6 million per team, or in total a whopping $120 million. And if it all goes through, it just goes to show the sorry state of both Overwatch 2 and the esports scene in general right now. Blizzard invested big on this one, and not only did it not pay off, but it was a massive loss. And we all know how risk-averse gaming companies are. It's why they keep churning out remakes. And right now, I don't think any of them see esports as a risk worth taking. Right, it's the part of the show where I make you all feel very old. You see, Fortnite enjoyed its biggest 24-hour period in history over the weekend, thanks mostly to players returning to the game during its OG event. Yes, Fortnite is old enough for people to be nostalgic about it. According to a tweet posted on the game's official Twitter account, the game saw record player counts on Saturday. The post reads, "Yesterday was the biggest day in Fortnite's history with over 44.7 million players jumping in and 102 million hours played. To all Fortnite players, OG and new, thank you." According to third-party Fortnite tracker Fortnite.gg, the game hit its all-time peak concurrent players during this period with a peak of over 6.1 million people. Initially launched on November 3rd and running until December 2nd, the month-long Fortnite OG season reverts the map to the Chapter 1 island, meaning players will be able to battle it out across returning points of interest, including Tilted Towers, Risky Reels, Greasy Grove, and Loot Lake. Man, I could have sworn that Fortnite came out a couple of years ago and it's the hot new thing that all the kids are into, but no, seemingly now the game is old enough that all those kids are now adults and are simply going back to Fortnite to get that same warm, fuzzy feeling that I do when I dive back into World of Warcraft. Have you jumped back into Fortnite with the OG event, and how depressing is it that a game like Fortnite is now classed as old? Hit me up in the comments down below. Modern Warfare 3 players with early access to Call of Duty's latest installment have taken to social media to share their dismay and outrage about the shooter's campaign. Although the first-person shooter doesn't formally release until the 10th of November, some players who forked out for the shooter's pricier digital editions can play the campaign early via early access, the latest trend in gaming that I absolutely despise. One Redditor was particularly scathing, saying, "This is without doubt the single worst and most insulting COD campaign I have ever played, and everyone who worked on this portion of the game should be ashamed of themselves for sending it out, and Activision themselves should be ashamed for doing this to the franchise." Another said, "What a slap in the face. I am shocked and appalled. I will admit we had about 2 or 3 missions that really stood out. That open combat garbage though, if this is the direction of the campaign going forward, this is officially the death of COD." Now, Call of Duty fans aren't exactly known for being the most calm and rational bunch. If they were, they'd be playing something else. However, the fact Activision tried to hack out a full single-player campaign from a previously planned DLC is just outright shoddy. It also doesn't help that several suspiciously identical reviews have been spotted doing the rounds, leading to this hilarious reposting by trolls in the comments. I guess I should be saying at this point I feel sorry for fans that they haven't received the game they expected, but I'm sorry, at this point, you've only got yourself to blame. You've all been told time and time again to stop pre-ordering games, especially when it comes to games like COD that just get churned out year after year. Of course, the campaign is just one part of Modern Warfare 3. The multiplayer is looking a little bit more hopeful, despite the vast bulk of the maps being rehashes from the OG Modern Warfare 2. The new zombies is a bit more up in the air. Whether that's all worth $70 though, well, that's up to you. And that's the show. We have a whole week of daily videos coming up, so make sure to subscribe and hit that bell button. If you're new to the show, thanks for checking it out. Catch Friday's news somewhere around here, and we'll see you tomorrow.